Good evening, Warband, and welcome back to the Red Pill Cult meeting. Certainly been a while. Well, get your red robes on, sacrifice your goat, and sit back, for we have a sacrificial offering of 3 archived videos of Think Before You Sleep. And in chat right now, we've got Sotenar, Bewuckin, Skeleton, Unknown User, AC, the Jaded Warlock, just some random guy, and August Lion. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, well, for those of you who might be new to this, a long time ago, Think Before You Sleep was a MGTOW channel, believe it or not. He made a lot of MGTOW content, and very much got big off of that. Then he tried to bury his past. However, Chad is resourceful, and we managed to find an archive of all his old stuff. A while back, after Chronic roasted him, he said he criticized people for not doing enough research on him. They didn't know him well enough. Well, that's what brings us to here. We've been doing a systematic dissection, 1 stream at a time, 3 videos at a time, or 4 videos on a good week, to try and learn everything we can and really go back down memory lane. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one here who's used to listen to him in the past and thought he had some good points, but looking back now, with the benefit of hindsight and more experience, most of his stuff, kind of weird. Largely full of crap. So yes, we are roasting the rat. I wonder if AI can analyze past videos and output what will happen between him and Venti. It all depends on the data you put in and the model behind it. I mean, I don't even think we need to know. We don't need AI to tell us what's going to happen. He's going to drop off, and then Venti's going to ditch him. Like, divorce is in his future. There's no question of that. He can't keep what he's doing going on forever, and if I bothered to look at his channel, I probably wouldn't see that much. I mean, honestly, one of the big things was that after he started showing his face and tried streaming, he showed that, well, he's not very good at it. And I don't think he's done live streaming since. I occasionally get his latest videos recommended in my feed, but I haven't seen a single live stream of his pop up on the feed, so clearly he couldn't handle that. And considering that a lot of monetization can come from live streams, well, I don't think he's doing too hot. August Lion, I'm pretty sure that if you look up simp in the dictionary, you're going to find 500 pages of faces. Sean's will just be one of them. Third last stream, him and Venti split. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't know anything about that. However, without too much further ado, we're going to start the next segment. And we're going to get into this video. So we continue on our journey of looking into the past of Think Before You Sleep. That buried past that he wishes that everyone would forget about. But we're not going to, because we're going to research him and understand him just like he said. So we are right now on archived episode number 61. Should MGTOW YouTubers show their faces? Short answer, no. Segment over. No, we will actually go through this a bit. Although we are going to have him at 1.5 times speed because he tends to ramble. Let us begin.
On what to do with this issue. This video is more about what I'm going to do as opposed to what I think MGTOW in general should do. But I've had a little...
So clickbait title right off the bat. But interesting because in time he did show his face. So let's see what he said way back a couple years before he decided to sell out and start live streaming.
A little bit of conflict in my mind about the anonymity of MGTOW channels. Most recently being the subscriber block that a lot of the popular MGTOW channels have done. I think I forget who it was. I think Turd Flinging Monkey was the one who was promoting it first, but then Sandman took it up, and TFM obviously took it up. DDJ took it up, even though he's not really MGTOW, and a lot of other MGTOW channels have taken up the subscriber block. And I think the best way to describe this was a Paul Proteus video I watched. I think it's called "Don't Do the Interview," where if you're going to be solicited by a woman, she's going to interview you before she goes after you. And the interview, part of the interview is she's going to ask you questions like, "What do you do?" or what are your hobbies, or those general questions that are obvious, like I want to.
That actually reminds me a bit of an older anecdote. I wonder how many of you guys remember this guy called Big John. I forget exactly what his channel name was, but he was pretty big in the MGTOW scene, like pre-2020. I want to say like 2018-ish. And he went for an interview on CNN. And yeah, they, of course, trash media being trash media, they completely dissected, spliced up, and changed all the framing to eliminate all the validity out of his points. Yeah, August. Okay, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Big John in that interview is like, and that kind of became like the key example for like, yeah, don't try to go like public or mainstream media with this kind of stuff if you actually care about getting the message out. Like your face, your name, and identity, especially if you go on a legacy media like interview, no, you're screwed. Like it's not going to do you any good. No, and that's the thing. Like I never had any disrespect towards Big John. I just think that the interview with, I believe it was CNN, was a mistake. Perhaps a well-intentioned mistake, but definitely a mistake. Anyway, let us continue.
Find out how much money you make and how many people like you, or how much, like what kind of car you have, and how financially well off you are. And a part of that interview is the way you dress. And so she can interview you just by looking at you and what type of suit is he wearing, what type of clothes is he wearing, what type of shoes does he have, does he have a watch that looks expensive, and things like that.
This is why I do not dress super well when I'm out and about. Because I remember it was a little while ago where it was at, I think, was it Yeetus? Or someone posted like, why don't guys go out in like nice suits anymore? Like, why don't they go to work wearing a suit and tie? Like, why don't they dress like in really nice clothes when out in public? I mean, it's not terribly expensive to wear that kind of nice stuff out in public. But why put a target on yourself like that? Like, why flash that you have money? It just does not seem to be... I know it doesn't seem like a very smart idea to flash around that you have a lot of money. Now, in a white-collar corporate setting, okay, that's one thing. That's the uniform. But when you're out on the street, you kind of want to dress to the average standard of people around you. It's not really a good idea to stand out unless you're actively trying to get attention. Someone who does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a suit will get you killed faster. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, well, but that's the other thing. Like, suits are very restrictive in terms of their movement. Like, it is formal wear. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some philosophy into the design of the suits to limit mobility. So, but that's my own little side tangent. Let's actually get to the main content here.
Like that. And so while we don't have clothes on these channels if we're hiding our appearance, we do have subscriber counts. And subscriber counts are a part of the interview for women. And so if you don't want women attacking your channel, one of the best things you can do is just not go for the interview and not show your subscriber count.
Really? That's a thing? That was a thing? The problem is in the age of shadow banning. But again, it's like, what, you don't want women attacking you, hide your subscriber count? What, do they think they'll attack you less? Okay, women attacking you less if you have a bigger subscriber count, I could see that because of the social pressure, but these are MGTOW YouTubers that he's talking about, or at least himself. Like, why does that matter? Why do the opinion of women matter to a MGTOW? I don't think they do. Like, because guess what? Like, the philosophy of MGTOW is fundamentally against gynocentrism. It is against female power. Women, as a general rule, are not going to like MGTOW. So why would you hide your subscriber count? What, to minimize the amount of women that will attack you? Why would they assume that you had a big sub count just because they couldn't see it? I don't know. Well, no, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, because like clearly Sean's not hiding his subscriber count. He uses that as a flex. So it's basically, hey, show your sub count. I guess it's the equivalent of showing your bank account. Like if you have high subs, that it's impressive, and if you hide it, then they're just going to assume that you're dirt poor. I don't know. I've found a couple channels with 4-digit sub counts, and they make decent enough content. And let's be honest, if someone's got like over 1 million in sub counts, they probably make very broad content. Like MGTOW channels, MGTOW content is unlikely to get millions of subscribers. Like even without the whole shadow banning thing, I would think that MGTOW channels wouldn't get a huge number of subscribers because it's kind of niche. It's not going to largely appeal to women. It's not going to appeal to children. It's more going to appeal to men, at the very least, in their mid to late teens. And even then, depending on the flavor of the channel, probably a niche tasting around that. Like, warband stuff, that's fairly niche. Like, a bit Chronic is far easier to consume because, well, he's funny. He's funny, humor, and roast stuff is widely appealing. Systematic breakdowns of Think Before You Sleep, not so much. But let's keep going. I've rambled on way longer than he usually does.
I guess the secondary problem with that would be that she can just see your view count, which in general, most channels do about 10% of their subscribers and views. A lot of the really good channels will do about 20%. If it's a channel that's really, really growing, they might hit their subscriber count and views every single video, or they might double their subscriber count and views with a lot of videos. But, you know, I've kind of argued in my mind, is that, yeah, I understand the Paul Purdy's argument. I understand the arguments they're making, is that they want to make themselves, or they want to ghost as much as possible. But I think for the people who are actually investing into the channel, especially the type of people who would watch a channel with no subscribers or no viewers, you know, part of that culture is you get to say when that channel blows up and becomes big is, you know, I was there when this person had 100 subs, or I was there when this person had 1,000 subs. I mean, Sandman's at probably somewhere close to 200,000 subs at this point, even though you can't see. But, you know, I can say I was there when Sandman had 10,000 subs, when he was, you know, back in like 2014 or 2015, whatever the hell that was. And so part of the appeal to the people supporting you is that they get to watch you grow. And if you hide your sub count.
No, that's fair. Like, if you show your sub count when it's low, then people might support you just out of the whole, hey, this guy's up and comer, I'm going to support him while he's still the underdog. Or it also can make you feel like you're part of a niche club. You being the 1,000th subscriber, the one that turns it over from 3 digits to 4 digits, that feels significant. Whereas if you're the 200,564th subscriber, not quite as special.
Now, they don't really get to watch that, or you take a very valuable piece of YouTube away from those people. So about a week ago, I hit my subscriber count. I decided to bring it back up today as a service to all the people who are those types of people, the people who want to see a channel grow. And I decided that it's really not that big of a deal to have someone know how big your subscriber count is. A lot of the MGTOW channels don't have their subscriber count hidden. And well, maybe if I get like attacked by somebody who said I attacked you purely because I could see your sub count, maybe I'll hide it again. But as of right now, I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think the bigger issue for me, and the one, if you have
one person attacks you because of your sub count and you hide it, I fucking relish someone attacking me. Fucking haters of the warband are some of the best sources of content. Still waiting on those Ribby documentaries, guys. What was it? Was it Kilokrilla or Croaky that was going to do an expose on Ribby? We're still waiting on that.
Argument against this. This is something I'd actually like to hear your opinion on in the comment section. So help be my criticizer, because
Oh, I'm helping being your criticizer. You're just probably not going to listen to me because you don't respect my sub count.
well, something I've learned from being vegan is that if you're going to
And 3 minutes 41 seconds, he mentions his veganism again. He lasted over a third of the video before it came up this time.
convince people to follow your philosophy, or you're going to convince someone to change something about themselves, they're not going to do it if you're not a very likable person. And so certainly a lot of people know the shitty vegans, the ones who sit there and shout and yell and scream and say how terrible a person you are for eating meat, or I'm so offended because there was an animal in this video and the animal wasn't treated exactly properly. Those are the types of people I don't think are actually convincing people. Maybe they convince crazy people, which, maybe that's why a lot of vegans are crazy. But if you want mainstream...
No, vegans are crazy because they're suffering from nutritional deficiencies that screws with their brain. Or, they might have been crazy to begin with. So, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But, by and large, vegans aren't healthy. You're not getting the nutrition you need from supplements. Just because you eat 500 milligrams of iron in a pill form does not necessarily mean that you actually absorbed all 500 milligrams of iron.
appeal. If you want everybody to go vegan, or if you want 50% of people to go vegan, if you're not being a likable person, people are not going to change over. In fact, the person who convinced me to become vegan was a very, very likable person. Like, if he had been some PETA fag and said that I was a murderer, like, I've had people say that to me. I've had people say, here's what a factory farm looks like, and blah, blah, blah. This is all the sad pigs and all the sad chickens. And I said, I don't give a fuck. It wasn't very convincing. And I think if all vegans were like that, their following would not be as big as it is today. There wouldn't be so many vegan products in the store. Like, I don't know how it is in other states, but at least in California and like Colorado and Texas and stuff like that, you can go into most stores and find a vegan section of the store that's...
Hey, look. If showing like horrific footage and appealing to pity didn't work, then the news would not be able to generate pity for freaking Ukraine and Gaza. So, now, do not underestimate the power of, oh, you need to be a good person. Look at these poor things suffering. You need to be virtuous like me. Now, that shit absolutely 100% works. It just doesn't work as much on men. But the vegan pipeline usually starts with women.
Specifically dedicated to vegan products. Now, of course, you can find vegan products at any store, unless it's like a butcher shop. But just having the vegan section of that part there is a really big deal. And I don't think we would have gotten that there if there weren't more people that were reasonable. And I think that's what
or, actual government subsidies for that kind of stuff. Like, the grocery store puts that kind of stuff in because they think it's going to make them money, or because their upper management wants the virtue signal for it. I'd actually be curious to know how much these vegan sections of grocery stores actually sell, and how much of that stuff expires and has to be pitched in the trash. But I don't have those numbers on hand, nor would I know where to look for them. So, although, now that I think about it, my local grocery store, I don't think I've seen any Beyond Meat stuff there in a while. So I don't think it can be all that successful. Isn't vegan stuff health worse than actual meat? Oh yeah. No, it's 100% worse. A lot of estrogen, crap ton of sodium. It's not good for you. It is not good for you in the slightest. But the whole concept behind veganism is sacrifice yourself to save the planet. Which, quite frankly, I wish that they just sacrifice themselves a little bit faster and more efficiently.
If this channel gets big, I think that's something I could actually bring to MGTOW, is be the one who is more reasonable. Because I think the ultimate goal for this channel...
Why virtue signal and eat that slop? It's for the virtue signaling. These people have... It's a lot to do personally. I don't know this objectively, but my thought is that it has a lot to do with how religion is pushed out. And so these people feel that spiritual emptiness and they need to fill it with something. They need to fill it with that sense of community. And veganism is one way to do that. Their god is nature. Like, they worship Mother Earth, and they can do this self-sacrificial performative display, and veganism becomes their religion. And that's why the side effects that they suffer from veganism don't deter them from it. Because in the same way that a flagellant will torture themselves to make themselves more pure and holy, the vegan tortures their body, believing that the more that they suffer, the more virtuous they are. At least that's my current thoughts on the matter. I'd be curious if anyone else has something that could refute that. But I think that the spiritual component of it is very prominent.
And maybe this is something that aligns with other MGTOW channels, is to, one, remove as many simps from society as possible. So we want to get rid of all the white knights, all the people who are doing things for women for free without any sort of benefit, because that not only hurts them, that hurts everybody. Once women find out they can get shit for free without doing anything, and they can just manipulate guys, well, shit like happens, like things that are happening in society. They start getting voting rights. They start ruining things. They start saying, well, I'm offended by everything, so you've got to cater to me, even though I'm only one person who wants this, even though 100 people who don't want it, and I'm just the one person who does. This.
Okay, you say that, but you also said that you're the kind of person who would hide your sub count if one person attacked you based on your sub count. You are one of these people, Sean. You are not separate from them. You are one of them.
This is what happens when they can find their group of white knights. And so I think a major benefit of MGTOW would be to get rid of as many simps as possible, like red pilling as many men as possible, or at least purple pilling and stuff like that. And the second thing would be to get rid of, I wouldn't say all, but probably most of the things that have been gained by the women's rights movements, especially universal suffrage. That's a big one.
Getting rid of how? Getting rid of it, oh yes, because the only reason that women's suffrage has survived is because men didn't have the willpower to get rid of it. No. Getting rid of all these female-centric laws requires very drastic action that voting, protesting, and campaigning will not accomplish. And you need numbers which, quite frankly, MGTOW don't have. The only way that women's suffrage is going to end is when the country as a whole ends. And that's not going to happen in a nice, peaceful way. So, quite frankly, the only way that MGTOW can get what they want is either A, going the chronic route, and going straight for surrogacy, like just, rent a womb, get the kid, be outside the female control part of the system, or going the route that I intend to go down and voting with the tax dollars of your wallet by going to countries that are, at the very least, not hostile to MGTOW, if not MGTOW friendly, which, for best of my knowledge, is the Philippines, and spending your time, labor, boosting that economy. Like, just refusing to support systems that are hostile to men. Because you're not going to get any sort of, how do I say this, coordinated regime change. That's not going to happen because there aren't the numbers for that to happen. Far more people will defend the system than not, simply because the system is what allows them to currently live in peace, even if it will destroy everything they hold dear in the long run. So, no, universal suffrage is not something that's just going to end because a fraction of the population wants it to. It's not how things work.
People should not be able to vote for free. You should have to uptake a responsibility in order to vote. Like, voting should be a curse. So men have to uptake the responsibility of the draft, which I don't think is quite enough. But women don't have to take up any responsibility, which is a very, very big problem. If you give someone the power to make decisions, but you don't give them responsibility, then you're guaranteeing they're going to make a bunch of bad decisions. Or you're basically just assuming that humans are all good and there can never, ever be a bad.
Okay, but then here's the other thing: is like what punishment do politicians suffer for making bad policy decisions? They don't maintain their power for in as high a position for as long. Oh, they get voted out of office. Oh, what a horrible consequence. Yeah, look at how people treated bad politicians, a couple centuries ago. And realize that, yeah, that's probably a bit why the politicians of 200 plus years ago were a little bit better behaved. Or because the consequences for not being good politicians tended to be pretty severe and far more permanent.
Person that would take advantage of the system, and that's a very naive thing to do. But I think if we're going to get these messages out realistically, if we're going to popularize the message of MGTOW enough to where it actually makes a difference, where it actually saves enough men's lives as opposed to a small fragment on YouTube, there has to be a face to it. Someone's got to go and do the interview. Someone has to go and do the press. Someone has to go and...
No, you don't need someone to do the interview. You don't need someone to go to the press. MGTOW don't recruit. You don't go out, you don't recruit, you don't campaign, you don't be a Jehovah's Witness. TFM compared to the while back, Jehovah's Witnesses versus the Amish. No one likes Jehovah's Witness. No one likes people that go and tell them this is how you need to live your life in order to be happy. No. You've got to be more like the Amish. You lead by example, you do your own shit on your own, lead a prosperous, fulfilling life, and then the people who are interested will come to you. Trying to push MGTOW onto regular people does not work, has never worked, will not work. So, no. Being the face of it only puts a massive target on your back and probably a drone above your house. Or maybe cuts the brakes on your car. So, no, not recommended.
And be in person and be live in a situation where someone doesn't get it. Like someone's going to have to do the Joe Rogan, someone's going to have to do the Dave Rubin, someone's going to have to do all the podcasts to get this message out there.
No, again, I don't know whether... I'm pretty sure that Big John had done his interview on CNN by this point. So, unless you were not aware of it at this point, Sean, no, terrible idea. Had been tried, hadn't worked. Men tried it. Heck, woman tried it with Cassie J to get that stuff out. She got torn the fuck down, and I don't know what happened to her after that. She effectively disappeared. Big John, after the whole CNN thing, I believe he disappeared, so no. Anyone who tries to put this out to the mainstream media tends to have their lives ruined to the point that they disappear from the public sphere. So no, it's a terrible idea, and is going to continue to be a terrible idea.
But of course, some precautions would have to be put in place. Like I would never break my anonymity with a small channel. I think that'd be stupid, especially.
Let's listen to that again.
Of course, some precautions would have to be put in place. Like I would never break my anonymity with a small channel. I think that'd be stupid, especially.
Never do it with a small channel. Well, what's the difference between doing it with a small channel and doing it with a large channel? Ribby got to 100k subs and he got freaking wiped over absolutely nothing based on complete bullshit. So the size of your channel doesn't protect you. Yeah, you didn't do it for a small channel. Exactly, random guy. He did it for Puditi. Like, you put your face out there for clout so that your pseudo girlfriend would approve of you a bit more. This guy's got the integrity of a biscuit in the ocean.
With what's happened to some other MGTOW channels, like Sydney MGTOW can't get a job because he showed his face before his channel was big enough. So that would have to be something that was already like I had.
Before his channel was big enough? Like, do you mean before his channel was big enough? What, does having a big channel mean that you can get a job? No. If anything, I'd say having a big YouTube channel is going to make you less likely to be able to get a job. Only thing, and I'm pretty sure that does Hammer have a job? I think he's got a job. He doesn't talk much about it, which I think is a very good decision. So, no, having a big channel, no, it's not good. And quite frankly, if you're going to do MGTOW stuff, YouTube should not be your primary source of income. Having a smaller channel probably means no one will find out about you. Exactly. Now, personally, like, I wouldn't even bother with that, because if people are determined enough, they will find your channel. Especially if you put out, your actual name. And people who don't like you will 100% find your channel and then use that as evidence to send it to your job and get you fired. As far as I'm concerned, unless you are financially secure and secure in your job, like to the point that even if your channel was exposed, then you'd be able to keep it. Then you shouldn't show your face. You shouldn't show your face. You definitely shouldn't give out your real name. I don't think you should give your real name out on the internet, period. And nowadays, like, doxing's even more prominent, so I don't even recommend showing your face to begin with. K6, leftist, feminist, like, is there? I mean, I guess there's right-wing feminists, but like the point is, yeah, a bunch of these people are terminally online, and they have nothing better to do because a lot of them are either on unemployment or they're trust fund babies. They have do-nothing jobs, and so they have all the time in the world to hunt down and figure out who you are, or to pay somebody to reverse engineer your channel, figure it out, and go that way. No. If you're going to do MGTOW stuff, you should have, as far as I'm concerned, a source of income independent from YouTube, because you do not want to be financially reliant on YouTube. Otherwise, you will get compromised, as Sean has been. And you shouldn't be showing your face because, yes, it's going to affect your employment opportunities. And I just think that that's, in general, for any YouTube channel. I can't think of any decent job that's a large social media presence does not negatively affect your chances of being employed. But let's see if we can wrap this up. About 3 minutes to go.
I have a pretty reasonably good suspicion that this channel was going to do very well if I did so. And then the face reveal would be about trying to make this channel even bigger. That way, the people who are the face of MGTOW are ones that are making the strongest possible arguments. And again, I think those strong arguments.
No. Channel size does not mean you are making strong arguments. A large channel means that you are making arguments that are milquetoast enough to be deemed acceptable. And Sean, you ditched MGTOW long before you revealed your face. So you're talking here like you want to be some kind of spokesman of MGTOW. But you dropped it. You dropped all that fucking integrity and buried your MGTOW content so that you could increase your channel's popularity. It was never about making the message go far. It's about you personally finding success financially via grifting. And you coasted on the back of MGTOW, who built you up. And then as soon as they were no longer useful, you pitched them. So, yeah. Man of integrity, you are not. Face of MGTOW, you will never be.
I think what MGTOW will be good at doing is, one, getting rid of simps, and two, reversing most of the things gained in the women's rights movements. Most of those things are not rights. Most of those things are just privileges over.
All rights are privileges. There's no such thing as an inalienable right. Any right you have that you think is inalienable, I guarantee someone with enough power can violate it and not face consequences. Yeah, women have a bunch of unearned privileges. Guess what? They're not going to go away until the very system of government goes away. So saying like, oh, it needs to change, not going to happen. Period. Not until the country falls apart.
For men. But I think it might be the case that the only ones who are going to gain some major ground on that are the ones who are not anonymous. And, like, I don't know. Like, is it really...
Gain ground how? Like, what the f*** is this ground?
That's scary because, like, look at the original MGTOW, Tom Likas. Tom Likas made millions of dollars saying some of the same things
Yeah, and then he cucked out.
that we say in MGTOW channels. Bill Burr got very famous on YouTube saying things like, marriage is a shitty deal, or he's calling women cunts and stuff like that. He's very famous saying stuff like that as well, and his life is not destroyed. So there must be some sort of formula that can be used and utilized so that, you can be a MGTOW channel and
Yeah, it's called having fuck you money. It's called having a metric crap ton of money and being so obscure that most people don't know who the fuck you are. You make a whole bunch of money off a very small audience, and then when you have enough money that you can't be financially pressured into doing or saying what other people want you to, then you get to speak your mind. YouTube is not the path to that kind of success. Bill Burr and MGTOW's like, yeah, saying marriage is a shitty deal, like, marriage being unpleasant has been a fucking trope of sitcoms for decades. Bill Burr sims for his wife now. Like, hey, I don't know shit about Bill Burr, so I'm just gonna take your guys and stuff in chat at face value. But exactly, anyone big who talks about this kind of stuff eventually gets fucking cucked and caves to pressure. So, no. Like, we see what happened to Tom Likas, we see what happened to Bill Burr, so using them as examples of like, oh, these are successful MGTOW. No, they're not. No, Bill Burr's fucking married, apparently. So, no, you can't be MGTOW and be married. Not how that works.
and not have your life ruined by feminists or by people who are just kind of evil. So this is kind of something that's been going on in my mind, and I know a lot of the other channels who keep themselves anonymous have kind of played with the idea as well. I don't think the issue might be as bad as they're making it out to be. Like I said, a lot of other MGTOW channels show who they are. Like Paul Proteus showed who he is, and as far as I know, he didn't have his life destroyed from doing that. Tom Likas, Bill Burr, Stefan Mullen.
Okay, I don't know what happened to Paul Proteus, but I do know that he's not making any content to recent date that I'm aware of. Tom Likas, cucked out, became a Democrat show. Bill Burr, got married, cucked out. Stefan Molyneux. I don't know if Stefan Molyneux has contributed anything of note to MGTOW or the Red Pill sphere as a whole. So, not making good cases here. You got any actual useful names? Because you're not saying fucking Hammerhand.
These are all people who now Bill Burr and Stefan Molyneux obviously are not MGTOW, but they certainly say a lot of the MGTOW ideas and don't have destroyed lives.
Depends on your definition of destroyed life. Yeah, you get big, you get famous, and then they're like, okay, now we're going to put your balls in a vice grip, and you're not going to say anything we don't want you to say, or we're going to crush them.
So this may be something that's not as dangerous as people think it is, and this may be a possibility in the future. It's not a possibility right now. Like, I'm still figuring out how to hide my identity online, because, like, for those of you who don't know, you can go ahead and Google your name, and a lot of times if you Google your name, you can find out exactly where, like, your exact address, your phone number, your family, just by Googling your name. And so I'm trying to figure out how to hide that stuff, and that's going to happen first before there's any sort of reveal who I am, if that's the case. But I think
Hindsight's a great thing. It's so good that these were actually archived.
there are a lot of benefits to revealing who you are, and I think if we're going to popularize this message, at least somebody's going to have to do it, and somebody's going to have to go and bite the bullet and see what happens.
Yeah, Hammerhand. Hammerhand had put his face out there while you were making this. I mean, Hammerhand Hammerhand is basically the face of MGTOW. Like, let's be honest, guys. If you have to put a face to MGTOW, it's Hammerhand. I don't know what else to say there. So, like, for Sean to mention all these other people and not mention Hammerhand, I mean, I guess, like, what would be the other one? I guess Terrence Popp. Like, Hammerhand and Terrence Popp both have their face, both make, like, live action video content. I guess. I guess Rollo Tomasi might not necessarily be MGTOW, but again, that's another face. So, Yeah, and then point at like yeah, Andrew Tate and Roma Army. Well, Roma Army gets the whole female like I'm a female protection for regular stuff, and well, Andrew Tate's Andrew Tate's his own fucking ball of wax. But his life ain't doing so hot, so no, not the greatest case.
But anyway, that's my thoughts on this. So if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, comment.
This is one of his videos that has definitely 100% been deleted, so you're going to have to make your comments here because there's no way you're going to be able to comment on the original. Oh, and there's that segment. Jeez. God, I don't even know how long that was, but that was way longer than I was hoping it would be. You think like, oh, 10-minute, 40-second video. This isn't going to take too long. It's like, yep, well, between a couple tangents and him basically spewing bullshit every sentence. Surprise, surprise. It takes a while. Yeah, no, it's depressing, though, to think that, like, the Red Pill started with Andrew Tate and Roma Army. It's like... It's not, again, it's not even a movement. It's a philosophy. Like, MGTOW has... The only presence in politics that MGTOW has, that I at least am aware of, is that Justin Trudeau labeled them as a hate group after some conservative party like intern tagged a conservative party promotional video with the MGTOW tag. So that's about as far as MGTOW's involvement in politics. There's no openly MGTOW politicians. Stop every minute to comment for a minute. The second was probably double the length of the video. Well, and I've got the guy going at 1.5 times speed too. But at the very least, like, unfortunately, the limits of the VTuber model mean that I can't just be your generic React streamer and just make a whole bunch of complex gestures and facial expressions while listening to someone else talk. No, I gotta actually add in enough content on my own to justify this being its own separate thing. Speaking of which, I've probably got a couple dozen of these segments that I actually need to upload. I have been lazy as fuck with this channel. Yeah, Simp Before You Twink sounded soy, but when he showed his face, he sealed the deal. Yeah. Yeah, no, him, it's like that whole better to be silent and thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. It's like, better to hide your face and be thought soy than to reveal it and remove all doubt. Do it. Sell your soul. Become full grift tuber. Look, I'm not above saying, like, look, I'll admit, I could be bought. Like, I can't honestly say that there's no way I could ever be bought out. I just don't think that anyone's willing to offer enough money to do it. It was a big mistake, but hilarious nonetheless. Yeah. No, it was funny. It was 100% funny. And that's the other thing, too, is like, now that he's revealed his face, he's stuck. His face is out there. His face is public. His videos are archived. Like, this guy's going to have to... Like, if he ever leaves YouTube and tries to get a real job, what job's he going to be able to get where his YouTube channel history is not going to detonate his career prospects? The fact that people make a living on platforms like YouTube just talking about opinions sickens me. Well, okay, let's be honest. Opinion pieces, people have made their money off of opinion pieces for like centuries. At the very least, a century. opinion pieces in newspapers, advice columns, magazines. People spouting their opinions and being able to make a living off of it is nothing new. But that's the thing. At the end of the day, these people are propagandists. They speak a message that is compliant with what YouTube wants, and YouTube rewards them financially. That's why he dropped MGTOW from his name, because MGTOW was not something YouTube wanted to promote. So he rebranded himself as, I don't even think red pill, but anti-woke. He's someone who's critical of the woke, and so he became controlled opposition, much in the same vein as Tim Pool. Is he anti-woke? No. He's not really anti-woke. He's like woke critical, but he woke light. People can convey interesting perspectives on informed topics is one thing. Do you think someone for your sleep has valuable opinions? No, I don't think so. But keep in mind, we've got to look at who's actually financing him. Without a large presence on live streams, his audience by and large is not financing him. Again, like compare Think Before You Sleep to Hammerhand, or heck, even Chronic. Both of them know what their audience wants. They cultivated their audience for that. And their audience are very supportive of the message and will throw money at them. Whereas, what does Sean, like what's his audience? His audience are the generic people. They're the NPCs. Without the YouTube algorithm purposefully boosting him, like if Think Before You Sleep got shadow banned, his audience would not save him. His audience would not financially support him. The live streams and their abject failures are proof of that. He does not have an engaged audience. He has a passive audience that will listen to his stuff, be woke critical, and then move on. That's it. Doesn't have a core bunch of wealthy, enthusiastic supporters. He has high up, top down corporate support, and so his stuff is pushed by the algorithm as propaganda. Really the fundamental difference, and it's neat to be able to see this shift in dynamics. Exactly, like the Quartering, Think Before You Sleep, Timcast, they are advertiser platforms and controlled opposition. Thus, they are promoted by the core corporation. I'm reminded of like the last couple of months when I was actually watching Timcast before I just got completely sick of it. Like I remember like I'd put on his video and then I'd basically ignore his video and just look through the comment section for the actual valuable content. Because I found the comment section far more interesting than the content of the video. And that's the other thing. And Iconic and Hammerhand, when they've got a point to make, they make that point. Like, they're not padding out a 10, 20-minute video. Like, even this one, 10 minutes, 41 seconds. Like, that's a very specific video length. Like, they're padding out for time in order to reach a certain number to get a certain amount of ad revenue. Like, it's very specifically made for the platform. Like, Chronic starts a stream, he's got no clue when it ends. Hammer, like, he's got his time slots. But we don't try to kill time to reach an arbitrary point. Like, an arbitrary number. Like, we're not trying to drag a 5-minute discussion out to a half hour so that we can fill enough airtime. We want to get our point across as clearly and succinctly as possible. It's not great if you're trying to make a YouTube career out of it, but when you respect your audience and you're trying to get a point across, I think that it's the superior way to do it. Give Tim a degree of credit. Was in the thick of things as a journalist before he became a camera talker. Much as I hate to do it, I will give him that. He at least did go out into the field and work as an actual journalist. Credit where credit is due. Begrudgingly though it is. However, that is but one of our 3 videos. And considering that it took me the better part of an hour to get through that one, we'll see if I hope y'all ain't planning on going anywhere, because by the title alone, this next one's going to be a doozy.
I had a really interesting friend that just moved away recently who knew a lot.
All right, we continue our exploration of the past of Think Before You Sleep and his deleted archives with episode 62, Staying MGTOW for Life. Oh boy, here we go.
I had a really interesting friend that just moved away recently who knew a lot of really cool stuff. And he knew that because he was in, I don't want to say too much, but in some type of military thing. Because I'm not to break his cover, but I don't want to give myself away quite yet. But he was in some kind of military.
Yet. Yeah, you haven't been offered vagina in exchange for showing your face. Yet.
Thing. And in some kind of military thing, you have to go through prisoner of war training. And what you're trying to do in prisoner of war training is you're trying to throw the enemy off just enough. Because the interesting thing is that everybody thinks if they get tortured, they're going to be like James Bond, who gets like his toenails ripped off and punched in the face and waterboarded and electrocuted and branded and stuff like that. They think they can just handle.
I will never forget that TYBS laughing man. I hope he comes back.
Thank you, Anonymous. Yeah, no, that, I can't recall the name off the top of my head. Shit. Yeah, check out like Chronic's most recent stream second most recent stream for that. No, that guy, he was good, like, and well researched on the Ricada Lost stuff. But that's another matter. Let's keep going and find out what Think Before You Sleep knows about POW training. And no, if people are being honest with themselves, sufficient pain, and you won't be able to focus enough to give a coherent lie, let alone remain silent. Oh, watch frogs. There we go. Yes, the watch frog. So yes, check that out. Yeah, the watch frogs, guys. I'll give a shout out in the segment to that, just because I got that nice donation. So yeah, go check out the watch frogs. It's got a good breakdown of the latest Ricada law drama, and it seems chill enough. At the very least, doesn't seem like a cuck. So that's a step up in this modern day. But let's keep going.
Hours of being tortured, or like that the Punisher movie where this guy has all those piercings and they pull every one of them out trying to find out where the Punisher is, or something like that. Not the TV show, but the shitty movie.
Hey, that movie was awesome. It had Russian Waldo fighting face to face in a house. That was great.
Everybody thinks that they're going to be the person who is like the stud, who's going to outlast the torturers, and they're going to not be breakable. The reality on that is my friend who went through prisoner of war training, is that absolutely everybody fails to torture. Every single person, no matter how much willpower you have, you will fail. Most people fail right away. And I, being a person who watched lots of movies, I thought I could probably make it quite a while with being tortured. And so I said, hey, you know how to torture people. Let me try this out. I want to see how good I am at being tortured. And so he said, all right, I'll waterboard you. Now, by the way, the whole point of torturing someone properly is that they can't know what's going to happen. And so I consented to it a while before he actually did, like maybe 2 or 3 months before he did it. And then just one day, I watched it go see him, and bam, that was waterboarding dead.
Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha.
Okay, there we have the watch frogs. Maybe it's the actual guy. Maybe just someone with his name, but thank you for the donation and the TYBS laugh. Oh, God, this segment's a mess. Let's keep going, though.
And so it took me about 5 seconds before I was freaking out, and I would have said anything he wanted me to say. And that is most people. Most people fail right away when they're put in a situation of serious trauma.
Yeah, that's why you have prisoner of war training. You don't go and think, oh yeah, I'm completely untrained at resisting torture techniques. I could totally do it because I've watched some movies. No. You go through training so you can familiarize yourself with it. I don't know whether you'd call that exposure therapy or just regular training, but this is why you do it.
And I really think this whole thing is a chemistry equation. You know, you have chemical A plus chemical B, that makes chemical C. You balance out the equation, and it all works. Of course, I think it's a lot easier to create negative consequences than it is to create positive. Like, it's much easier to burn a church down than it is to build one back up. And, well, here's the thing I get asked a lot, and here's another relation to this topic. And sorry, I keep bringing up that I'm vegan, like every other vegan does. Well,
okay, he made it about 2 minutes 38 seconds before pointing out that he was vegan. So, despite a longer video, he did it faster than the last one. I'm probably going to make that pointing that out a regular thing, just because, yeah, we get that you're vegan. You don't have to tell us every time. But I guess you assume that every video could be a potential new watcher.
and anybody who's on a diet that's kind of abnormal, it does that. Like paleo people, gluten-free people, carnivore people, they're always bringing it up. So I'm the same as all of them. But I get asked this question like at every single family event, and by a lot of other people. There are people who are like, well, if the apocalypse happened, like a giant nuke hit, and then the only thing you could do was hunt to survive, and you only had meat, there were no vegan products whatsoever, would you still be vegan? I'm like, no, I want to survive. I think almost every vegan would quit being vegan if their life depended on it. If they had to survive, they would survive, and especially because most vegans are women. And if you've seen that Survivor or those like survival shows where they're women, they freak out instantly when things don't go right. And so, yeah. But basically, the idea behind this is that you don't want to put yourself in that situation because that is a situation where you are almost guaranteed to fail. And it's the same thing with MGTOW. You are always at risk of going back to the plantation if things get bad enough. So don't let things get that bad.
What? If things get that bad? Okay. No, I'm gonna stop here and rant for a second because you don't go back to the plantation because things go bad. Like, guys, think of it. That's basically saying like, hey man, you gotta stay really on top of your game. You gotta be 100% in control. Locked in. You gotta really hardcore discipline yourself, or you might find yourself getting your dick sucked. You might find a woman throwing herself at you, wanting to marry you. You might all of a sudden find that you have just fallen into a vagina, and bam! It's over, man. You are no longer MGTOW. You are now living with a woman, you are married, and you have children. And you're raising another man's children. How'd that happen? It's a low point in your life, man. You hit a really low point and ended up with a wife. Seriously? Seriously. No, that's not how it works. It's really easy, surprisingly easy, to not invite women into your life. There's plenty of guys right now who, despite their best efforts, don't have women in their life. It's not, you don't get to a low point in your life and then all of a sudden end up in a relationship. Women don't go for guys at their lowest points. Maybe he'll justify this in another minute or so, but that just seemed colossally stupid.
In fact, what you really don't want to do is you don't want to be like that guy who's like Alex Jones' #1 fan who's got to talk about fluoride in the water and like the HARP weather systems and green chemtrails and whatever, like at every single family party event or whatever it is. Anytime you're around people, you always have to be talking about some type of conspiracy theory. But like the MGTOW version of that, so you're always like trying to red pill everybody in the neighborhood. And you're going to talk, oh, I know all these crazy things about women and about society and about rights and stuff like that. Nobody likes that person. And so if you act like that,
again, very much like I mentioned in the last segment, Amish versus Jehovah's Witness. No one likes the Jehovah's Witness who's constantly trying to convert them. Instead, be like the Amish. Live by example. Don't purposefully tell anyone your secret to success. Like, don't necessarily lie if they ask. But don't try to convert people. Simply live a good life by example, and if they're so inclined, they'll come to you.
Person, people are going to shy away. In fact, if you're doing that right now and nobody wants to be around you, stop doing that. I think a lot of people, speaking of the vegan diet again, a lot of people quit that diet because they previously had a lot of people around them. They can go to restaurants, they can have fun, they can go to their family events. But as soon as they become vegan, their identity becomes their diet, and then they can't stop thinking about it. They can't stop bringing it up, and it isolates them from everybody. And well, then now they've got nobody. So the only way they're going to get them back is to stop being a vegan. Let me for a second bring up a book that's on Jordan Peterson's reading list that he talks.
Hey, quite frankly, like, if social pressure can get you to stop being a vegan, then you're not committed to the vegan aspect. You were just doing it to virtue signal for some points. Like for some kind of culture virtue points or whatever. Like, you're appealing more to people online than you are to people who you actually have to socialize with on a day-to-day basis. Like if you're not going to go out and adapt to your social circle, you either have to A, be okay with being isolated, or B, go be with the people who are like-minded to you. Appealing to people across the internet, like, that's not going to help you if it messes with your daily social circle. And you don't need many people in your daily social circle. Typically, like, if you just have, like, one, maybe two guys that you can socialize with on a somewhat regular basis, that's enough. Hey, how many people do you really need to socialize with? It probably varies from person to person, if I'm being honest. But that's a whole side tangent. Let us continue.
About quite a lot. It's called Ordinary Men. It's about a guy, or about a group of police during the Nazi Germany times, and how a regular group of police people became just outright murderers and started murdering Jews and undesirables and all the people that they had their one people to murder. In fact, by the way, it's really hard to get people to kill people.
No, it's not. Stanford prison experiment is definitely one example. It's not difficult, and I forget exactly what the name of that experiment was, but it was like you had somebody, like the test subject was a person who was in the position of instructor, and they were basically told, like, hey, every time this person gets an answer wrong, you need to increase the voltage here. And they were told this by someone who had the perception of a figure of authority, someone in a lab coat. And the person was willing to increase the voltage to a level that would kill people. Now, the whole thing was, like, play acted, but these completely normal people, simply because they were told by an authority figure to raise the voltage to a lethal level and then zap the test subject, believing that they would kill them, they would do it. So no, it's not difficult to get somebody to kill someone else. It is not difficult in the slightest. You just need the right conditions. Difference between who you kill. Because again, like, let's look at the military. If opposition to killing people was that big an obstacle, then the military would not have had near its number of volunteers. There's a big difference between killing the people who want to destroy your family and wanting to kill people who are, your neighbors. There's a difference. Milgram experiment, okay? So, no. Like, there's a big difference between being, like, Stasi police and being a soldier. Like, just saying that it's all about... Heck, this video is probably going to get restricted because I've already said the word enough. Like, no. Killing people is not the barrier to entry. It's being an enemy of your neighbors. That's probably a far bigger barrier to entry. Or taking out somebody who is not actively hostile towards you. That's a big barrier to entry. Those are probably far more important to consider rather than just killing people in general.
Or I can go build houses or something like that because my family has a trade. I'm going to be the one that says no. But the person who doesn't have a way out, the person who doesn't have options, they're going to be the one who does the horrible atrocity.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, and then all you have to do is look at Twitter and the amount of death threats that are sent over the most casual bullshit. No, no, no. If people could take out people that they don't like quickly and easily and with no consequences, there's a lot of people that would do it. There's a shit ton of people that would do it. But you know, you don't want to say that you're that kind of person because that makes you sound like a shitty person. And again, so much of this is about social proof.
And so it just goes to say that you really want to give yourself as many options as you possibly can. You want to have yourself taken care of as best you can. If you're not taken care of right now, if you're a fucking mess right now, start working on something. In fact, just pick the next easiest thing that you can do. And probably one of the easier ones is to get yourself out of debt. Because that's
This is supposed to be about being MGTOW for life. So how do we get onto the topic of killing people? It's like being MGTOW for life, getting out of debt. Like, okay, guys, answer me this. Say you are in debt, massive debt, 5-6 figures in debt. Is it going to be easier or harder to resist the allure of puniti based on the amount of debt? Are women more likely to enter your bedroom if you are in debt or financially stable? He's talking about, oh, torture and the pressure to kill people as though that's comparable to MGTOW. Like you need to get into... Wait, what is this, like a sugar mama situation? Do most MGTOW stop being MGTOW because all of a sudden some rich woman wanders into their life? No. Think Before You Sleep certainly didn't do that. He is more successful than Vendy. What happened was he got big on YouTube. That gave him social proof and higher status. And then a woman, probably for the first time in years, finally started paying attention to him. And the allure of puniti was too much. It's not because he was hard up or in a desperate situation. His success led to him abandoning MGTOW, not failure.
not too hard. You take a number and you lower it. And so if your debt's $10,000, you just keep paying it off until it's zero and stop spending so much damn money, or at least stop spending money that you don't have. In this case, I'm going to follow the Tom Likas order because I followed that in my own life. Is that when you're talking about money, you're talking about having money for now in the future. You pay off all your debt. Once you pay off all your debt, you take a calculation of how much money does it cost for you to live every single month. And once you figure out that number, let's say it's $2,000, you save up a year's worth of that. And financial advisors will say 3 months, but let's be honest, you want to have as
Now, August Line, he stopped being MGTOW long before he got into a relationship, so he wasn't even MGTOW until his quote-unquote death.
much money banked up as possible. So let's say a year of savings. Once you have your year savings, or $24,000 if your example is $2,000, then you start thinking about investing. You max out your IRA, you start playing with stock options, you start doing all that the crap that the people do to save for their retirement and make money work for them.
The economy's going down the fucking shitter. Like, maybe I'm just not at the point where I could have faith in anything like freaking stock options. But given how much wokeness DEI is actively destroying most business and the economy is being annihilated, I put no faith in business stocks. Like, I get it, but I'm on team precious metals. Other people like Sandman would be on team cryptocurrency. Personally, the main reason that I'm not a fan of team cryptocurrency is because I'm anticipating a service outage, and you can't pay with crypto when the internet's down. So, yeah, I'm very much on team precious metals. Your mileage may vary, but stock options. I don't have faith in that. Like, stock options are for people born 20, 30 years ago.
And once you start working on it, probably you're going to start working on the debt, because the debt could take you quite a while to work on. And once you kind of handle that, you probably can work on something else. And it might be the case that you're having a lot of trouble paying off your debt because your skill isn't very valuable. Maybe you work at like Target and you're making $11 an hour, whatever the minimum wage is in your state, or $10 an hour. Maybe if you're in Washington, maybe you're making $15 an hour working at Target, which is ridiculous. But maybe it's the case.
It's not even about skill, guys. Like, if you're working fucking retail and you're like, oh no, this work sucks, go get into a trade. Do some physical labor. You will get on the job training. You will be able to advance up the career ladder there with on the job training. And you will get paid more than you would working at fucking Target. Like, the main difference, you're going to have to actually use your body, and you're going to have to actually put in some fucking effort. You don't just stand around all day and talk to idiots. You have to actually work with people, cooperate, and put in some fucking effort. So, but honestly, I got no sympathy for the people who work retail and complain about their wages. The trades are hiring, and they'll pay you more. You just have to put in the effort.
Your skill isn't valuable enough. So how about you pay off your debt and you go find some other, you find some apprenticeship training. Maybe you go to school and rack up more debt. If you're going to go to school and rack up debt, make sure that your career actually has viable options. Like there's, go on Indeed or something like that and actually check if there are jobs in the major that you're going to. Like
Don't just go on Indeed. If you're actually going to go into school, if you're going to go to fucking school for it, then you're going to need a pretty thorough plan. Like, you basically need a business plan for what your job is going to be afterwards. And you better not just be like, oh, no, this is what the requirement is on Indeed. No, you better have a place essentially guaranteed at a specific job, at a specific place where you have physically spoken in person to the people who work there and affirmed that the job will be there waiting for you once you complete your education. If you don't have that, don't go into the debt. Just focus on making the money. You don't need an education to make more money than you are making in retail. There's other options, so long as you're willing to put in some physical effort and show up on time.
It's weird because we are in the easiest possible time to check for career opportunities. Yet people will go to college and get a degree, and then they'll find out, hey, there's no jobs in this after they've already spent the 4 years. And certainly I've been victim to that. Go on Indeed.
Okay, well, K6, like, brand doesn't get filled with a woman. It's you're basically looking at the STEM fields. If it's something where a degree is a requirement and it's actually worth getting the education for, it's going to be the STEM fields, and it's going to be a position that they can't just offload to a woman. There's no, like, if you're told that you need to go to school to get a job in the HR department, that's a dead-end job already. And you 100% will be replaced by a woman. No, you're looking for something that's actually difficult to do and is a bottom line job. Because outside of the fucking STEM fields, chances are you can supplement your education with some online courses and a couple books and a little bit of elbow grease in your spare time. You don't need to drop money on an institution for that kind of stuff. Some trades still offer apprenticeships. That's true. That's the thing. The trade options, they're desperate for people, and all you need to do is put in an honest day's work and show up on time consistently. You would be shocked at how difficult it is for people to do that these days. But it does pay way fucking better than retail or fast food. I can tell you that right now.
On Glassdoor, go on some type of job website and make sure they're
Like, say, you knew somebody did get an astrobiology job at NAPS. I mean, I guess there would be some astrobiology. So they have an unqualified woman from DEI. Okay, I can believe that. I don't remember hearing that myself. The reason for that, though, is that NASA gets a bunch of its funding from the government. Ideally, you want to look for a job that is not subject to government subsidies. So, I mean, that can happen. The bigger the company you're going to, the bigger chance there is that would happen. So, I'm just trying to get you to stack the odds, guys. I can't give you any guarantees. I can tell you what I believe will help you stack the odds the most in your favor, but shitty luck is shitty luck. And sometimes you're just stuck with some shitty luck. But going in, like, knowing what job you want and having all that lined up before you go into the debt will still put you leagues ahead of all the other students, because at the very least, if you don't get the job that you were aiming for, you know exactly the job that you are qualified for and can then start talking to other people in that same field rather than getting out of 8 years or whatever of schooling and then trying to figure out where the heck we'll even begin to hire you. So you can never get a guarantee, but you can stack the odds in your favor as much as possible.
Actually fucking jobs in the thing you're training for before you go spend all the money and the time doing it. Once you've got your money kind of set, then the next thing at the same time you're going to do is make sure that you have relationships. You are not going to make it if you are by yourself. Like, I don't care how introverted you are, you need some people around you. Maybe you don't need people around you all the time, but there needs to be some sort of relationship with some people, family or friends, that you have to engage in. And so probably the family is the easiest thing to start with most people. Now, if you've got a particularly toxic family and you have a family that is, done some pretty unredeemable stuff, then maybe start with friendships. But if you have a regular family or a family that's just kind of, maybe it's not doing as well as it could, start with that first. And the way you repair those relationships, if they're not going very well, is to start finding out what do all your family members actually like about you. And what are all the things they don't like about you? What are all the things that piss them off that you do? And so if I'm going to do something like, become a vegan, become very, very hard to deal with, because it is. It is hard to deal with people who are vegan, especially if you're the only one in the family. Is I'm going to say, okay, that is really annoying, and people don't like that. So I'm going to make this as easy for people as possible. And one of the ways I do that is if I go to a family event, I always make sure I bring something for me that everybody else wants. So in this case, it was Easter today, and so I brought a 4-layer dip that everybody loves, and I can tell they like it because they had seconds. If someone's trying to lie to you and you've made something for them, like food, and they eat it and they put it down and never touch it again, they probably didn't like it. But if people they're taking the dip tray and passing around, making sure everybody gets seconds and thirds and fourths, that's a good recipe. And that's something that people actually enjoy. And so you want to find as many of those types of things as possible. Like, are you actually doing things that people like? Like, you can even take a really negative thing, like changing your diet to be annoying, to being a very positive thing. Because what happened when I became vegan is I actually had to learn how to cook. And so now it's not just everybody who's...
We're supposed to be, for those of you who've forgotten, on the subject of staying MGTOW for life, and he's having a fucking rant about the difficulty of getting along with your family as a vegan. He's barely mentioned MGTOW this entire video, and we're 11 minutes into a 13.5-minute video.
Who makes all the family recipes at Thanksgiving and Easter and Christmas. It's now that plus what I have to bring to the table, and people generally enjoy that. And now it's not a problem. Now it's not a pain in the ass. So you find out what your good attributes are. You find out what people like, and you just repeat those attributes over and over again. You find out what annoys people. Like, one of the things I've worked on quite a lot, one of the things that annoys people that are around me is I love to talk over movies. Like, if I'm in a movie theater, I'm the annoying asshole who has to...
I think you just love to talk, period. Because you apparently fucking couldn't go through your entire yoga class where you're literally paid to teach people yoga without spouting off about your fucking politics in view of how life should be. So I think that this is just you in a nutshell. You yourself are fucking annoying.
Says me in every single line, like, oh, that's that actor from there, that's that cool thing, oh, look at what just happened in the movie. I used to do that all the time, to the point where nobody wanted to see a movie with me. And so I had to have pretty severe consequences. That, well, now I can't go see movies because I'm not going to see a movie by myself. That's weird. So when that happened, I said, hey, this is the chief...
Not going to see a movie by yourself? It's weird. Like, what the fuck movies are you seeing? Like what? Go watching movies in a theater by yourself is weird? How is that weird? If there's a movie in theaters that I actually want to see, a rarity in this day and age, but something that I actually want the theatrical experience for, you think I'm going to give a flying fuck whether or not there's someone else who wants to go see it with me? You are in a dark room facing forward. A movie theater is not a social space. It's not a group discussion event. It's not a fucking bonding experience. You go and you watch the movie in theaters and you enjoy it. You don't need other people to do that. If anything, the other people in the theater are usually annoying as fuck. And watching movies at home on your television or your computer screen or what have you, who cares whether you watch that shit alone? It's what you do in the privacy of your own fucking home. Something tells me, Sean, that you personally have a fucking need for hardcore social approval, and you just project that as something else, something that everybody else needs. If I'm going to do something with someone else, it's going to be something that I need something else to do. Like in my case, tabletop wargaming. That's the kind of thing that's, meant to be done with two people. So it's a more enjoyable experience to be done with two people. Movies, that does not need to be a multi-person affair.
complaint that people have, maybe I should just stop doing that. Maybe that's actually really annoying. Maybe that's very self-serving and nobody actually cares. And all this stuff is just kind of entropy. Entropy is like a chemistry term for like things tend to spread apart and get away from each other and get more chaotic as time goes on. So, like if you're someone who buys a lot of stuff, speaking of debt, and you have a house. Your house only has so much space for you to put stuff in it. So eventually, if you buy too much stuff, you will have no space. And so every so often, you're going to have to say, what are the things I need? What are the things I don't need? And you're going to chuck all the things you don't need in the trash.
Again, we're talking about what it takes to stay MGTOW. Like, did you get so lost in the metaphor you forgot the point of the fucking video?
You're going to donate them or you're going to sell them on Craigslist or something like that so that you have more room for new stuff. And of course, if you're not doing that, every so often you'll become a hoarder and you'll have a lot of entropy around you.
Or you could just not buy more stuff. There's a lot of, like, if you're buying so much shit that your house is filling up with shit, you're buying more shit than you need. And, like, this is talking from a guy who's got a fucking table full of plastic miniatures right now. But, like, if you're buying so much shit that your house is fucking overflowing and you're becoming a hoarder, this is not a problem of you're not throwing things out fast enough. This is a problem of you're buying too much shit too fast. But again, what the fuck does this have to do with being MGTOW for life?
And so if you're not constantly taking inventory of what...
This is exactly why Sandman told him to start scripting his videos. Yes. Yes, precisely. Because he has a fucking topic and he just goes off on a rambling tangent and doesn't actually have a fucking point. And then it's like, yeah, no, this video is fucking trash. But we're 60 videos in, and I guess he hasn't started scripting his videos yet. So I guess we'll find out when he starts doing that, because maybe the quality will go up.
For all the annoying things that I do that people hate about me, you're just going to keep...
I buy 200 car tires a week and can't move around my house anymore. Wait, would you say that you're rolling in dough then? Sorry, terrible joke. Let's finish this.
Adding more on. So maybe it's the thing that maybe you talk over movies. Maybe now you smell bad. Maybe now you've got you're someone who holds people hostage in conversations and stuff like that. You're just going to keep building more and more annoying things over and over and over again until basically nobody wants to be around you. And if nobody's going to want to be around you, you're going to be a very, very depressed person because we have to be around people. And especially if you're choosing...
No, we don't. No, we really don't. There's plenty of guys who live out on their own. They've got a dog. No, this is you. This is just you.
MGTOW, you're already doing something that's very, very difficult to do. You're already going against the grain because
MGTOW is not difficult to do. It's really not. That's like, again, what's MGTOW? No marriage, no cohabitation, no unwanted kids. Like no extra kids. So what does that consist of? Not interacting with women in a relationship capacity. That's the safest way to do it. That's not difficult to do. It requires like what's easier? Going out to the bar and talking with women to try to socialize them up, or going on Tinder and swiping and trying to find matches, or not doing those things. Not attempting to interact with women is easier than attempting to interact with women. Being MGTOW is not difficult. It's not difficult. You just don't make a public display of it. You don't make it your fucking personality. Hey, it's not like being a vegan where you have to double check the fucking nutrition label and ingredients on every single thing you eat so that you hold to this fucking religious tenet. Not something that is constantly served. You can easily go through a week without seeing a vagina. It's simple. It's not hard. Incredibly easy to do. Just a question of like, hey, is it worth pursuing? No, it's not worth pursuing. Oh, you're not pursuing it? Oh, congratulations. Done. Like, and then when you realize exactly how much of your fucking time and money that you've saved, it's like, huh, you know? Like, where's the difficulty in this? I know you're not going to mention it in the next fucking 35 seconds, Sean, but you managed to make it through a 13.5-minute video, and you have not mentioned throughout any of this what makes MGTOW difficult to do.
We're all designed to seek out relationships with women.
No. Again, like, Sean, I forget. I don't know what time you put this out, but it's almost Pride Month. Like, we are not relationships with women. No. Men, we're not hardwired to seek out relationships. We're hardwired to seek out sex. And we live in the day and age when sexual relief is not that difficult to acquire. And MGTOW is not against sex. Marriage, cohabitation, unwanted children. Virginity is not a fucking prerequisite for MGTOW. Chastity isn't even a prerequisite for MGTOW. No marriage. It's easy to not get married. Cohabitation. You don't accidentally start living with a woman. Unwanted children. Either get snipped or wear a fucking rubber each time. The only way that you could accidentally not be MGTOW is not wearing a fucking rubber during a casual fling. Not difficult. Like, guys, chat, please tell me if I'm fucking wrong about this here. But no, thing's completely full of it.
As men, which is why it's so entrapping. And so if you're going to choose this lifestyle, you really want to make sure that you don't put yourself in bad situations that would make you do something that's drastic, especially because you could be more easily prone to things like depression. And so, get your debt in order, get your career in order, make sure you have people that want to be around you, and I think you'll do just fine. So that'll be it for this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe.
This video's definitely been taken the fuck down. So, no, if you want to make any likes, comments, subscribes, or whatnot around this video, you're going to have to go with this commentary on the video because the original's long gone. And then, I think before you sim and chat, Sean's has knocked up Venti according to Calhoun, a former close personal friend of hers. That's why she quit. Not familiar with the drama, don't have any confirmation of that, but I'm going to take that as an interesting rumor. The only unbelievable part is that would mean that Think Before You Sleep actually slept with Brittany Venti. Well, I guess we'll find out in a couple months whether or not that's got any validity to it. Someone once my hand started glowing. Next thing I know, I'm on the hook for 18 years. That phenomenon's when I'd be curious. Exactly, Dr. Firthwall. You don't have to be old. It's not complicated. It's not difficult. These are not difficult things to do or know or follow. Again, I got through a 13.5-minute video there, and I got through about double that and picking his shit apart. It's like, no, this is not hard. Being MGTOW is not hard. It's incredibly easy. Like I honestly think that it's easier to be a MGTOW than it is to quit fucking drugs. Well, there might be some kind of chemical compulsion. Like what? Unless you live the kind of lifestyle where you regularly have people basically just offering you sex on a day-to-day basis, it's probably easier to quit than drugs. Yeah, so I'm sure Brittany will be a faithful wife. Yeah, watch. Fucking Sean's first kid is going to turn out to be black. That's where this is going. That's easy if you're horny, just play a porn game. Exactly. Like, we live in the age where fucking porn of every flavor, every variety, every single fetish, every single format of it, from fucking visual novel to full-on VR immersion, is available. It is really not difficult to just fucking release the semen demon and move on with your fucking day. And then the Sean Destiny Pookie's best. Sean will have to pay for the bucket. Oh, 100%. 100 fucking percent. You're gonna see fucking Think Before You Sleep. Putting on that fucking YouTube grind set with increasing desperation as he tries to finance his half-black kid with his white girlfriend. Turns the corner. Hey, what is that? Back on it. I will not be tempted by your promiscuous promises. Like, I don't know how many of you guys have like seen any of the Bail Buddy comics, but it's like, it's not like this world is like filled with like the horny elves who are constantly like catcalling men and openly trying to smash. It's like, no. I'm pretty sure that 80% of men have no problem adhering to MGTOW as a fucking lifestyle. And like fucking Giga Chad, so long as he's either snipped or puts a fucking condom on. Like, Leonardo DiCaprio has no problem living the MGTOW life. About horny elves, shit. Honestly, Gem Power, if that sounds fucking hilarious, like, check out any of the Baal Buddy, Baal Buddy, like comic dubs. It's really funny to see, like, you've got these fucking thirsty, horny elves who are so desperate that they can't get laid, and then you have stoic Giga Chad orcs who just want to be left alone. And then you have like one of my favorites is the one shot with the Paladin Cafe, where it's like one of those like weird like niche fetish maid cafes, but it's with a paladin who basically is constantly chastising you for not being virtuous enough. And like one of the girls there's totally fucking into that shit, and the other one's like, I don't get this at all. Gregos, what would be the 40k equivalent of Think Before You Sleep taking care of a pooky bastard? Honestly, I don't think that's oh wait, no, that would be Gene Stealer cults. That would be your wife got involved in a fucking Gene Stealer cult, popped out a fucking four-armed abomination, loves it like her own. And now you gotta choose between joining the fucking Gene Stealer cult or abandoning your wife, where you, the kid, and her are all probably going to get incinerated for harboring Xenos. Yeah, Virginia the female paladin. Solon knows what I'm on about. Yeah, Dr. Fourth Wall. Gene Stealer cults. That's the only way I think that NTR can be a thing in 40k. Because, like, honestly, most of the time race isn't a fucking issue in 40k. Everybody's life sucks unless you're fucking noble, in which case it sucks slightly less. But to the best of my knowledge, there's no such things as like fucking half Eldar and Probably despite Gilliman's best efforts nowadays. Yeah, fucking Xenos heretic. Anyway. But no, I think the only way you can get NTR'd is if your wife gets knocked up by a gene stealer. Because that's what would happen. Like, basically, your wife would take a fucking gene stealer implant, and then you knock her up. You think that your baby's gonna come out, and then surprise, it's a four-armed monster. And you're like, oh, fuck. Alrighty, well, we got one more segment to get through. God, this is the fucking MGTOW stream. All three of these videos have MGTOW.
When I was in school,
He looks just like you. Yeah, it's got a bulbous head. It's got fucking terrifying claws and basically gave itself a C-section. And it looks like you like your fucking dinner. But no, it's clearly yours. I haven't slept with any other man. I just took a weird turn down a dark alleyway and then emerged dazed and confused with no memory. And a weird implant mark in my chest. But, I'm sure it's nothing. I'm still a virgin. I just got knocked up by an alien's ovipositor. Wouldn't need a script for these vids. You don't need a script in order to make the decent content. You need a decent script in order to make the content in a reasonable amount of time and actually coherent. Like, I'm flying off the cuff with these, and even I'm noticing that, I tend to go on weird fucking rants. Whereas if I was watching these, and scripting out my responses, I could probably deliver far more precision points. But, I don't know. I hope that you guys like the live stream stuff. I've got 23 people in chat right now, and it's been fluctuating above 20. That's pretty good, as far as I'm concerned. Well, let's hit... All right, so we are on episode 64 of exploring the past archives of Think Before You Sleep, particularly his deleted MGTOW content. And this one, remember why you chose MGTOW. Let's get into it.
when I was in school or when I was in college, I took a lot of classes in education and how to teach, and particularly how to teach kids, because I was going to be a PE teacher. Well, I was going to teach martial arts, but I was taking the PE teacher course as one of the majors I selected. I selected multiple majors that were in kinesiology or that were in exercise science. And when I was taking one of these particular classes on how to teach kids, they would say, if you're going to get a kid to work out, you have to give them some type of choice. Like, you want to give them as much choice in a structured environment as you possibly can, which means you're going to be picking, it's the same way I taught yoga, is that if I taught yoga...
I don't remember getting a choice in gym class. I remember it was like, you do this exercise or you're going to get a shitty grade. Like, those are your choices.
I'm going to tell you what the main sequence is, but you get to decide how much of that sequence you're going to do or what variation of the sequence are you going to do. So are you going to do a standard push-up, or are you going to do a forearm plank, or are you going to do a side plank? There are many ways to vary poses in a sequence. So you have some sort of choice. And one of the ways you do that with kids is you let them choose what type of exercise you're going to do.
I do not remember that as a kid. Has anyone else ever had that experience in like elementary or like junior high or middle school or whatever? Like, has that ever been a thing?
And so you might make it simple, because if you give people too much choice, they'll have analysis paralysis and they won't be able to pick any of them. So you get them A or B. So are you going to do 10 push-ups or 20 sit-ups? And you keep it simple like this.
Maybe I had something like that, but by and large it was like a circuit of shit.
If you sell this well enough and you do a job with this, kids will be compelled by this message. They'll be compelled to actually work more, because when you point out things that are true in actual life, people just tend to gravitate towards that, which is, the essential part of a good story is that a good story is going to have a realistic life message. Like, one of the things I was doing, I was watching a YouTube channel called...
Yeah, and real life is you don't get a fucking choice. Real life is you do what you're fucking told. Like, that's real life. Like, you don't go to a job and then be like, well, you could work at this station, or you could work at this station, or you could work at this station. Which one do you think appeals best to you? It's like, no. You are being paid. You're going to do what I say. You're going to work here. You're going to do this task. You're going to do it the way I tell you to do it. And you're going to do it to my level of satisfaction. Otherwise, you will be fired and no longer receive a paycheck from this organization. That's real life.
Totally not Mark. And actually, I'll post this video in the description because it's a video that works quite well. Is that if he talks about Dragon Ball in this video, and in Dragon Ball you have a bunch of different heroes, and all these different heroes are set with the purpose of, well, we have different personalities and we have different goals, and though we want the same things, we all have different methods of achieving these goals. In fact, if you're going to make a really good story,
no, they don't all want the same things. They want the same things for themselves. Like, the only person who wants Goku to be the strongest in Dragon Ball is Goku. Everyone else is either trying to have them be individually the strongest, or they have differing motivations. Like Dragon Ball specifically, everybody is all after the Dragon Balls, not because they all have a common wish that they're all trying to achieve together. No, they all have their own wish, and they just find it easier to cooperate in order to get said wish for themselves, rather than trying to steal it from one another. So, okay, 100%. Someone get Chaz so that he can dissect this guy for not knowing shit about Dragon Ball, but let's keep going.
What you might do is you might put two heroes in exact conflict with each other. So one hero believes this about how to solve the goal, the other believes this thing, how to solve the goal. Like, this is done in anime a lot. So one hero will believe that he should only work by himself. The other hero will believe that they should work with a group. And those specific conflicting ideals are both true. And so the person who works with a group, by being around the person who's individualistic, will learn to be more self-competent. The person who's more individualistic and is with the person who wants the group is going to learn how to cooperate a lot more. So your conflicting ideas grouped together will help you grow quite a bit. And I've made friends with several people like this, and I've grown quite a bit with their conflicting ideas. It's like, I need to be more like them, and they need to be more like me. That's kind of the essence of a good friendship, and it's also the essence of a good group. Realistic groups work with this if they're going.
The only time I can think that was ever a thing in fucking Dragon Ball was when Vegeta and Trunks went to train together in the hyperbolic time chamber. And Vegeta needed to learn more about how to rely on others, whereas Trunks had to learn how to have more confidence in himself and his own abilities. That's the closest that it got to actually having that, oh, you have two heroes with the same goal but different methods of achieving them. Yeah, their goal was not having Earth destroyed by Cell. And that was their common goal. But they weren't all trying to power up Goku to make him the best. No, Vegeta wanted himself to be the one to beat Cell. And Trunks was just kind of along for the ride because he didn't want Cell to win. But I also don't think that he necessarily at any point wanted, like, he just wanted Cell to lose. He didn't care who won.
And work effectively. You have people who have conflicting viewpoints coming together for a similar goal, and the combination of your conflicting viewpoints will create a compromise, and that compromise grows the people in the group. And so when you hit messages that are essential like that are true about life, you make people, you compel people. This is kind of a Jordan Peterson point. And so the compelling part of that.
Jordan Peterson raised a whore for a daughter, so he couldn't actually be the man that he wants other men to be. Fuck Jordan Peterson.
Argument of 20 push-ups, or so 20 sit-ups or 10 push-ups, is that you don't get to not suffer. If you're going to suffer, you're going to have to pick something, because it's a lot better that you pick your suffering than it to be chosen for you, because oftentimes if your suffering is chosen for you, well, it's not going to be very fun. And I'll give you an actual example where suffering was...
Suffering is not fun regardless.
Chosen for me because, well, I, like many other people these days, thought I could get away with not doing too much. Unfortunately, I was very intelligent in school, and when you're very intelligent in school, you can get away with not doing very much work because school is designed for people who have seemingly far below average intelligence.
Does that mean, like, considering that I was able to breeze through a bunch of high school while literally falling asleep at my desk for a bunch of the class, and yet I still managed to get through with, like, high B's or low A's? Does that mean I'm smart? I mean, I guess I'll take that as a compliment, but...
And so, while somebody else might spend 2 hours doing their homework, I might spend 10 minutes on it and get away with that, which doesn't work out too well in adulthood. Typically, if you're someone who is that smart, you go take harder classes, you go do coursework that's more difficult, you go do the stuff that's for intelligent people. That way, you learn how to work hard. But because I didn't get that,
No, if you're if you're overqualified for what you're doing, you just don't use 100% of your abilities. Now, yeah, you might try to go up the promotional track, but work is not something where you're constantly trying to push yourself at 100%. Work, which is what you do as an adult. School is not for adults. Work is for adults. And in work, shit's an endurance match. You don't give 110% every single day. Because then by the time Friday rolls around, you'll be a broken mess. You do exactly what is necessary, because the point of life is not to work. You work to facilitate the stuff that you do when you are not working. Like, if you fucking work yourself to the bone and fucking kill yourself every single day to the point where you are just eating, sleeping, and working, what the fuck are you doing with all that money? So no, you don't give that much of yourself to your job. You don't be like, oh wow, my job's too easy, I need to go seek out harder work. If you're doing harder work, you better be getting higher pay for it.
I instead use that free time to play lots of video games.
Buy the new Buddy Waifu and Nika. More of an Azure Lane guy myself, but quite honestly, I do not even have the time to play Azure Lane these days. So that saves my... I don't have to worry about the fucking waifu gacha, not because I don't have the money to afford the waifu gacha, but because I don't have the time to play the game that has the waifu gachas.
And, I did that for, let's say, 14 years old to 25 years old. You do that for a good amount of time. You blow 10 years of your life, and by the time you're 25, things aren't very great, because you'll realize that when you do stuff like that, even though I went to college was the same shit. College was so fucking easy. There was a couple good nuggets of wisdom that were in college, but for the most part, it was a giant waste of time. So be very, very careful about that if you're going to college. But you realize...
Yeah, if you go to college and you don't know why you're there or what you're specifically working for, or you're going to something like fucking health sciences rather than STEM, then yes, it's a waste of time. But as someone who did actually dabble in the fucking STEM fields, you gotta actually be willing to fucking commit and have some fucking purpose behind it. You cannot half-ass like actual STEM university. You will not be able to keep up with the coursework if you half-ass it.
When you do stuff like wasting 10 years of your life not preparing and not getting skilled and not getting financially fit, is that if anything bad happens to you, you are fucked. Now, fortunately, nothing super, super bad has happened to me. I've had some hits, but nothing like I haven't been hit by a bus or had some major medical issue. I've had a couple things that are kind of annoying that I can deal with, but nothing majorly terrible has happened yet. And I say yet because it's going to happen at some point. Things are always degrading. Things are always getting worse. And so if you're not constantly doing maintenance on everything that's degrading, then a catastrophe is going to happen.
That is actually a fair point. Fairly generic, but ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure. Like, if you got a coolant leak in your vehicle, it's important to check your vehicle's coolant level on the very least a weekly basis and make sure that's topped up. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself on the side of the road doing an impromptu coolant flush for 2 hours. So, yes, fair point there. And, that can be expanded to a lot of other health things.
And so I've changed that about myself quite a bit over the past 4 or 5 years or so that when the catastrophe does happen, I'm ready for it and it's not so bad, as opposed to being completely unprepared for that.
I mean, ideally, and this is the best advice I heard, ideally you want to have enough money stockpiled away that you can be out of work for 6 months without any major problems. Not the easiest thing to accomplish, but I guarantee that you're going to feel a hell of a lot better when you know you can go 6 months without work and not have to compromise your life.
And I bring up all this as a reminder. I think actually someone reminded me in my last video.
I thought he was almost killed in a Meyer fender bender a couple videos ago. Yes, actually I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, gets in a minor fender bender and is like, oh, no, I almost fucking died. It's like, oh, I haven't had anything major happen to me. It's like, yeah, I guess a fucking fender bender with the vehicle. That didn't financially set him back, but, it fucking shook him to his core. He was probably literally shaking at the end of it, so, yeah.
Of why I made this decision to go MGTOW, because certainly I'm someone, and probably like a lot of us, or like a lot of other people who may have not realized this yet, is that I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to do all that. Because that seems to be like the most, well, certainly doing that stuff, even in the perfect world, having kids is a very harsh experience. Because I watch other family members go through and other people in my life go through having kids. It's not, certainly there's a lot of suffering in having kids if everything's going right. But as for right now, and what this person said in the comment section is if you, if you make that choice, you very well could, the overwhelming likelihood. Now, you could be the one lucky 10% or whatever it is that does not have to go through this, but the overwhelming likelihood is that you choose to not go your own way, is that you will become a slave for the rest of your life. And so are you going to...
Not if you go the surrogacy route. Chronic's definitely on the right track with that. If you go the surrogacy route, unless they change the laws, mind you, but if you go surrogacy, then you are not beholden to a wife with child support. You have to make it work as a single father, sure. But the slave for the rest of your life? I think if there's anything that a man would be happy being a slave for, it would be for his children. If it is for your children, men will happily make those kinds of sacrifices. That's what it means to love your kids. But I think that Sean here is talking about the whole, you're making payments on a house that you don't get to live in while your ex-wife takes other men into your marital bed. Yes. That's far closer to the actual slavery thing, especially since, hey, don't make the payments and you go to prison. So the surrogacy route gets around that by not having the wife in order to have the kids. And my strategy of going to the Philippines gets around that by, hey, divorce isn't a thing there. Or at least not yet. So if there's no divorce, then you're not stuck inside that system. If there's no wife, then you can't be stuck in divorce. The only difficult part of surrogacy is that you got to set aside 20 grand to like 40 grand in order to get the kid. So, you got to save up for at least a year, probably, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. But if you're willing to vet a woman for 3 years, then what's saving up 20 grand? Worst case scenario, if you changed your mind, you're not out 20 grand. You've still got the 20 grand, and you can just pick a better time down the line. You could invest the 20 grand into something that's actually got better return. I don't know. Just that it feels cheaper to have a kid with a woman, but that's because you pay after the kid has been born, not before. But let's continue.
Choose you don't get to not pick one. So you're going to choose family life, which is going to be suffering and slavery. You're going to choose MGTOW, which is the suffering of not having a family. Because it can be quite harsh. And I mentioned in another video, the way you get around that is by making sure all of your other relationships outside of that are as good as possible. But you have to pick one. You either pick the 10 push-up or the 20 sit-ups. You either pick the MGTOW or you pick the marriage. And certainly, of course, my opinion is that the MGTOW is the better decision.
Okay, now, MGTOW to marriage is a fucking apples and oranges. It's like, would you rather eat something that doesn't taste amazing but is good for you? Or would you rather have something that tastes amazing at first, then turns super bitter, then gives you fucking food poisoning?
Not only is that a better decision for you, but it's a better decision for society at large, because when someone makes you a bad deal, you don't accept the deal, you just say no. And if you are in hopes of ever having a bad deal, or ever having a good deal, and you always accept a bad deal, that's never going to happen. The only way you get a good deal...
Getting married in the West, period, is a bad deal. There is no such thing as a good marriage in the West. Again, the only country that I'm aware of that has remotely decent marriage laws, i.e. no divorce, is the Philippines. That's it. To the best of my knowledge. The Philippines and Vatican City, and you can't move to fucking Vatican City.
Is by being a better negotiator, and a part of negotiating is the ability to say no.
The ability to say no, well, guess what? You don't have the ability to say no when you don't have a monopoly on force. When the woman, your partner, the person you're trying to negotiate with, is the only one who has the power of the state to compel you to do what she wants. You don't have negotiating power. It's not a matter of fucking willpower. It's a matter of you have the loaded gun of the state pointed at you at all times. There's a fucking difference.
As opposed to just magically hoping that the person on the other side of the deal is going to give you better options. And actually, let me just add one more thing to this video, because I was mentioning college, and I was mentioning that there was one good thing, or a couple good things, but one really powerful thing that's been very useful is that in my last semester of college, of course, they specifically do this as the last semester, because if you did this when you started out, you probably wouldn't have gone through the entire school. But the last semester, often what they'll do is they'll have you do some type of internship. And I had done an internship for physical therapy, and it turns out I spent 5 or 6 years in college, actually 5.5. And I spent about 2 years of that studying physical therapy after I decided I didn't want to do education. And I went on my internship for PT, and it turns out I hated it. So that kind of sucks. You know, you're at the end of 2 years of work, and you go into the job, and you fucking hate it.
This is why you go interview at a location and get an idea for what the job entails before you go and get the fucking education and pay the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars required. This is why you need to know exactly what job you're going for, exactly what job you're working for, and that it's a job that you're going to fucking want before you set a foot in a classroom after you get your GED.
So I changed my major the semester after that to some BS thing just so I can graduate. But in one of the BS classes, the teacher at that internship class, I had to take another internship class that had to be specific to that major, brought in a guy who was very, very capable and very, very competent. Someone who's actually fairly young too. And one of the things he said that was extremely useful is this idea called an information interview, where if you're going to pick your stuff and if you're going to sit there and spend 4 to 6 years,
Yeah, this is what it is. Information interview.
or maybe 8 to 10 years in school, getting a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate degree, you better damn make sure that you actually like that field. And one of the ways you do that, people are overwhelmingly helpful in this situation. Every person I've asked for an information interview has not only said yes, but has been overjoyed to do this. Turns out people who are very successful want to tell people how they got successful. It just seems to work like that. And so this person would say, I forget what exactly he wanted to do. He was a teacher, which I think
honestly, this right here is probably the most useful thing that Think Before You Sleep is ever actually going to say in any of his videos.
far overqualified to be a teacher. He should have been something else. But, you know, he was a teacher in physical therapy, but he had went to like, oh, I want to be a physical therapist for like some basketball team, or I want to go work football. And so he found out who all these people were, and he went and interviewed them to see what their jobs were like. And not only, this works in two ways. Not only did he get to find out what a athletic trainer for a basketball team works as, or a physical therapist for a football team works as, but oftentimes what would happen is that the people we interviewed with, you get an in-person talk, and it's like the devil you know. So it's like, if you're doing school right now, but as soon as you finish, call me and I'll give you a job. And the reason they're friendly like that is because nobody takes the time to go and do what you've just done, to go and find out what the career is like before you actually do it. And also, nobody takes the time to ask people who are in the field any questions. In fact, I just did this because I'm kind of done being a yoga teacher. For those of you who know, I was a yoga teacher for 6 years. And because being a yoga teacher, if you don't work in Los Angeles or New York or one of the major cities, you're basically poor. But it turns out all the places where yoga is successful are kind of like giant shitholes. Like Los Angeles is a shithole. And I've avoided that for a long, long time. And so the other thing that I like is working on electronics. And so I've been trained to become a solder technician, but I don't know that much about what's actually required for the field these days. So what I did is I found some companies.
This is the problem, Sean. You fucking looked for like, oh, hey, I enjoy doing this. Therefore, I'm going to go get an education in this field. It's like, no, you don't. Don't go for a job because the task itself is something that you're going to enjoy doing. Because all that will end up happening is you will end up hating the task because you will be compelled to do it to live. Get a job that you can tolerate doing and that will facilitate you being able to do the things you actually want to do. Like, that's how people enjoy their work. Not because the work is enjoyable, but because the work allows them to do the things that they actually find enjoyable. This whole fucking chase your dream, chase your passions bullshit is just that. Bullshit. Don't try to make your hobby your work. You're just going to end up hating your hobby because you'll never be able to get out of that work mindset. Actually said something helpful. Only had to watch over 60 videos to find it. Yes. That's the thing. Like, I'd say out of Think Before You Sleep's entire video career, that little bit there about the information interview is probably the best piece of advice that he has given out. And the one thing that I would say, yes, this is good advice. Go out, do this, and I will fucking preach this to everybody who is looking at post-secondary education. So Ash, yeah, I can understand the Philippines is being infected by the woke virus. Look, all it has to do is last 20 years after I start my family there. Then I can have my kid, well, okay, 25 years, because I got to have 5 kids, get them all to adulthood, and see them off and independent. After that, fucking divorce laws can come in, whatever. The family's not broken up, the kids are out on their own. Like, shit can hit the fan at that point. I fucking did the best I could. So, but that's a whole aside thing. Let's see if he's got anything else left in the next 3.5 minutes.
That do soldering, and I called up the manager and said, hey, I'd like to see what you guys do. I'd like to do an interview. And this is not an interview to get hired. But recently I talked to one of the engineers at this particular company, and he's like, he brought out some chips. He's like, hey, if you could solder these in 10 minutes, then you're hired. And it turns out I hadn't seen the chips before, so I couldn't do it. But even though I did not succeed the interview, I got a lot of information on what's expected. He spent about maybe 30 minutes saying, if you want to be a solder technician, if you want to do this, and not just be, because solder technicians, when they start, they don't make very much money, but when they get good, they make a lot of money. And so he's like, if you want to start making money in this field, here's exactly what you have to learn. By the way,
now, K6 wouldn't want the family broken up even if the kids are out, but I wouldn't want it either. But if I have to choose between it's society where the family can get broken up before the kids are out, and one where it's going to get broken up after the kids are out, I'll take the second one. Ideally, it would stay together the whole time. But one can't hope for ideal scenarios. You just have to take the best that you can get, and hey, maybe if you're lucky, it'll turn out to be your ideal one.
hey, if you learn this stuff, come back to me, learn on YouTube or go wherever you need to go, but learn it, I will hire you. And then he hit that part where he's like, well, do you have any questions for me? And by the way, this is one of the most important parts of the interview. When managers say, do you have any questions for me? This is where you get to interview with them. Because if you have any sort of value, you're going to say, I'm not so desperate that I'm just going to say whatever. I'm not just going to do whatever you say. I need to make sure that this company is the right fit for me. And so what I did when he asked me that question, I said, well, can I see the factory? Because if I'm going to spend time doing this, I want to make sure that this is a work environment that I actually like. I want to make sure that I'm interested in the equipment, that there's stuff I'm capable of doing, that I would actually not get bored doing this. And so I looked at the factory. I thought it was fantastic. We spent about maybe 5 minutes or so walking around and doing stuff, because this was a small business. It wasn't like some huge thing. And I got to see what this place was like. And now if you're going into fields and jobs and not doing that, you are making a massive mistake. You're making a mistake that could very well waste years of your life. So if you're going to go into a job, and by the way, this is not the only time I'm doing this. I'm doing this again next week with a different company, doing another information interview, because it might be the case that this person who said, here's everything you need to know to be a technician, he might have left some stuff out that some other person will bring up, or maybe this is how this particular company works, but if I see another company, I might become more interested in that other company. So if you're not doing this, if you're not actually going and spending time in the actual field before you study, you are making a massive, massive mistake. And you very well could set yourself up to not like your career. And think of it this way. Most people who get degrees in college do not go into their field of study. Now, there are many reasons for that, and I can think of at least 2. And one of them being like, well, you have this certain idea.
Just a reminder, the subject of this video is remember why you chose MGTOW. Much as I do think that the advice he's giving right now is actually good, this is not the subject of the video as the title would make you believe. Again, this is why Sandman told him to start scripting his videos. He tends to really wander off topic and go on ranty side tangents. I mean, I do the same, but this is a live react, not a scripted video that is edited and shit. So I think I can be given a bit of leeway in that regard.
This thing that you want to do, and you don't actually check if there's a market for that. And the way you check for a market is to talk to people who are in the actual field. And if you talk to them and they say, hey, there's tons of work here, we hire all the time, or these companies hire all the time, great, that's probably something you should go into. But if you talk to these people and say, well, this is a real crapshoot, this market's going to be automated in 5 years, or we're actually looking to downsize, that would be a case for, hey, maybe don't spend 5 years getting a degree in that field. But also the case if you don't actually spend time looking at the field and seeing what it's actually like to be that thing. Like when I went to physical therapy, I didn't realize that physical therapists spend the entire day fucking charting, which is why I didn't like it. If you don't spend the actual time looking at the field, you might find out that you spend all this time for a job you don't even want, or a job you don't even like. So think of it this way. You're going to suffer in some type of way. Are you going to let that be decided for you and just kind of be a victim to society, or are you going to actually look at your options, like what are the ways I can suffer, and what are the ways that I can suffer that are the least bad? I think you're going to live a lot happier if you...
MGTOW is not suffering, though. Now, maybe this is just me, but I do not consider the MGTOW life to be suffering. Maybe it's different for someone who hasn't had a fair bit of access to the fairer sex. Maybe. But I got more than enough shit to keep me occupied that I don't even have the time to deal with females, even if I wanted to. I got other shit to do. And it's easy to justify not spending money pursuing women when it's like, look, am I going to have them for wives? No. They're bloody well not going to be virgins. And I'm not even getting married in this country anyway. And so why would I spend precious time and money on women that aren't going to be the wife and mother to my child? With that mindset, it's very easy to just say no and focus on other more productive shit. So, again, like Sean, you're fucking rambly mess. Probably the best advice that you could give in a video, but it has nothing to do with MGTOW, and I really don't think that you understand what MGTOW entails. Like, I'm really getting the sense from this that he didn't understand MGTOW even when he was talking about it. And that he was just putting MGTOW in the titles as a way to attract, like, the MGTOW viewership when he was small, and then he dropped the fucking title like a hot potato. Because he was never MGTOW. He just adopted the label in order to break into the YouTube market by going after the MGTOW niche. Fair my ass is just puniti on legs. True. True. Should I say the puniti bearing sex then? Yeah. Anyway, last 10 seconds.
Pick the ones that are least bad, the ones you're actually competent at solving. So that'll be it for this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe.
Yeah, this video is definitely taken down. So no liking or subscribing to him for this video, if you did like or felt the desire to subscribe. Because the only way that this video is going to be up nowadays is this particular commentary. This is what it is, guys. He threw MGTOW under the bus for fame. Hardly surprising. All right, and that's the lot of it. So let's actually switch over to the chatting scene. I don't use this one very often, but I actually quite like it. AI-generated library. Hey. Yeah, he was clearly an incel just using MGTOW as a cope. Yeah. Yeah, that... Or should I go back to all his old videos and take back all my likes? Well, considering he deleted a bunch of them, you can consider them taken back. I can't believe he knocked up Ethot. Oh, don't worry, Just Groove. We don't believe he knocked up the Ethot either. We just think that he's dating a knocked up Ethot. Whether or not it's actually his semen that did the job is a completely separate question. He was integrity away just like Rekieta did with his family. Hey, at least Rekieta got some fucking hookers and theoretically more than one woman at the time. Think Before You Sleep threw his integrity away for fucking YouTube clout after failing to be, well, basically multiple jobs because he couldn't keep his fucking mouth shut and just do his work. He had to spew his politics everywhere. It's gonna come out with a Murphy beard. No, that would imply that Jack Murphy got with Brittany Venti. And at the very least, we know that Sean is attracted to women. Murphy, on the other hand, that shit's up in the air. Just like Murphy right before he landed on a fucking dildo asshole first. Like Logan 22, I think Firstly was the last person in line to have sex with his own girl. Who do you think started the whole gene stealing? Oh my god, it makes so much sense. Murphy's after the genetics. That's why he's slurping up all the secondhand lippy slides. All right, well, we got through the 3 of those, and honestly, I didn't have much planned beyond that. I've still got a few things, because still technically the work week. So I think we're going to call it here, guys. Thank you all very much for stopping by. I will try to do these at least a little more frequently if I can keep it like 2 to 3 hours, 3 to 4 videos. I think that's reasonable. And I know I made that Warhammer poll, but I've been so busy manufacturing shit and jumping on chronic streams, I haven't even had time to think about that stuff. But I've had some people contacting me about creating the new Warhammer game. So, I guess look forward to that as I hunker down to try to get that done. Do them on Wednesday? Well, right now Wednesday is my wargaming night, so that's definitely out. But that might have to switch till Thursdays, so it'll be kind of like a Wednesday or Thursday thing. Will I do a GGWS? That's kind of what the RPCMs are. Like, I don't. That's the thing. I haven't been doing like Grey Ghost Warband shows because I do Red Pill cult meetings. I don't know. I just have more of a structure, and they've become roast streams. But I mean, I could just do non-roast Red Pill cult meetings if I had a little more content to work with, I guess. Stream with me before you sleep. Help, brother. There's no way he'd stream with me. No chance in hell. Like, maybe if I had more subs than him, he would. But no. Yeah, no, Gem Power, that's the thing. I saw so many people pointing out, like, oh, Red Pill's just a cult. Red Pill's just a cult. I thought, like, you know what? Let's just fucking embrace it. Here's the official Red Pill cult meetings. Get your robes and sacrifice your goat. Let's critique your old content together. Again, I don't think he'd do it. I mean, there's not a 0% chance, but I don't think he'd do it. Red Pill Cope meeting. Offer to take your turn with Venti. Who's the creepy purple guy with zero drip? Damn. Zero drip? I don't even get a little bit of drip for the fucking warband beanie? Straight up zero drip? Damn. Sacrifice the beetle. Red Pill Goon meeting? No. That shit's a fucking Rumble exclusive and adult only. A Red Pill Goon meeting would be where I fucking critique indie hentai games. That's a completely separate fucking stream. God, the amount. It would basically be me fucking doing the viewing scene with just a big fucking blurry screen in the background the whole time as I fucking do a walkthrough of some fucking attack. Yeah, here. Like, when we do my review of fucking Play Club, no, you can't see a second of fucking footage because there's no way that this shit is not getting me fucking demonetized and banned. To a goon streamer just was a cartoon style goon. Oh yeah, what's that fucking striped shirt and fucking flat cap? That's the goon outfit, right? That's where we'll rate Uma Arby's corn. Oh, I mean, uh, Jesus. I mean, I could, because knowing my ass, I'll probably like fucking critique the goddamn lighting and camera angle and pacing and shit. Because I'd be just that fucking nerdy about it. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. Like, send me or Chronic a fucking donation or something, getting me to review it, and I'll make a fucking Rumble exclusive thing. It's gonna be like, I ain't gonna fucking show that shit on the stream. I'll put a massive blurry filter on front of it, but I'll review it for the right price. Oh, good from the from the Arkham games. All the games are Jack Baldman. I mean, at least the uniform's simple. Or jump hits. I'm going to shroom. Label the stream naked yoga. Hey, K6, I'm not trying to get that monetized on YouTube. Besides, I've got the wrong avatar for it. I need to get my fully AI waifu avatar up and running to do that kind of stream. Thank y'all very much. Y'all are gonna fucking make me pass out from laughing with this shit. We'll see whether or not I get to something else like later this week or on the weekend or maybe next week. But I'll see you guys either on another one of these streams or on one of Chronic streams. Until then, thank y'all very much for tuning in. Peace out, Warband. Y'all have a good night.